Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I will show you how to crochet the Renaissance button wrap. This is a pretty triangular wrap with a button closure. And if we open it up, we can see that it's actually, if you've ever crocheted a solid granny square, it's actually similar, but a triangle. And we double up these decorative corner holes as buttonholes. So it's fully adjustable and it's very pretty. And I chose some bold striping. You can use, make yours monochromatic or two colors or more colors or a rainbow of colors. And for this project, you're going to need a 6.5 millimeter K crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a button, and a tapestry needle. The yarn I used is Lion Brand's Lion's Pride Wool Spun. Here's the label that I've saved. And I used 3 colors for mine. Again, you can use as many colors as you want, 1 or more. And in case you're wondering for the particular colors I used, this white is called Fisherman. The kind of middle tone color is called Honey, and this darker color is called Rust. So those were the colors that I used. If you want to substitute yarn, that's perfectly fine. Just check your yarn label for the recommended hook size. Look for a yarn that recommends a K crochet hook. So let's get started. The Renaissance button wrap measures 30 inches across, and to achieve that, I simply took 2 of the points and just measured across the bottom, and that was 30 inches. If you'd like your wrap to be larger, you simply work more rounds of the pattern. I worked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 rounds to achieve that. However, everyone has different tension, and if you're substituting yarn, etc., you might need more rounds or less rounds to achieve those dimensions, or whatever dimensions you like. I would recommend, as you're crocheting the project, to try it on and make sure you're getting the best fit for you. We're going to begin our project by putting a slip knot on our hook. To make a slip knot, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your crochet hook, and bring up the loop. Tighten the yarn onto your hook. Next, we're going to chain 6. To make a chain, wrap yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're going to work a slip stitch in the chain farthest from our hook to make a ring. This wrap is worked in the round, so we'll be starting from the center and working our way out. I'm beginning with the rust color, however you can do any colors you like. Okay, so let's work a slip stitch into the chain farthest from the hook. Insert your hook into the chain and bring up a loop. Bring that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. We now have a ring, and I'm going to hold this tail along the edge. That way we can weave it in as we go along. So let's begin round 1. To work round 1, we're going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Next, we're going to work 5 double crochets into the center of the ring. To make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the ring, bring up a loop. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops on our hook. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, then we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get our yarn ball out of the way. Then we're going to do the same thing again. 5 double crochets, then chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're going to work 4 double crochets into the center of the ring. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, still holding this tail along as we go to weave it in. Then we're going to work to close our round. So when we did this chain 8, this counted as part of our first double crochet because we have groups of 5, 1, 2, 3 groups of 5 to make our triangle. And then we had a chain 5 to make each of these corners of our triangle. So this chain 8 we did at the beginning functions partially as this double crochet and partially as one of these kind of corner loops. So in the third chain up, 1, 2, 3, right here, we're going to work a slip stitch to close the round. So now you can see it turns it into one of those double crochets and we still have a corner loop. So this is our first round and it's already starting to look triangular. And as you work more rounds, it'll kind of shape it up a little bit more as well. So let's switch colors. We're just going to cut the yarn and fasten it off. Now if you're working in one color, you wouldn't fasten off at this point. But if you want to switch colors, go ahead and fasten off. I also, to keep too many tails from hanging down, I'm going to go ahead and tighten this tail that we wove in the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and trim that now just to get it out of the way. So we already have, and come back to our original button wrap here, our finished piece. So you can see we already have this center piece finished. So let's move on to round 2. We're going to begin round 2 by simply tying our yarn into one of these corners. So go ahead and do that. Just bring the new yarn through. Go ahead and tie that right on. Now we're going to be weaving these ends in as we go along also. This is just totally a personal preference of mine, but I always, if you've seen some of my other videos, you may notice the tail that we end up with, I always travel to another corner and tie my yarn into another corner. That way I don't have 2 ends to deal with in one corner. I can kind of weave this end in and then come around and weave the other end in. That's totally personal preference. It kind of cuts down on the bulk a little bit. You can really just tie it into this corner if you prefer. It's totally up to you. But I usually tie, when I'm working granny type projects where you're tying them into a corner like this, I usually go to a different corner. If you're wondering why I went up like that. So anyway, total personal preference. You can tie it into any corner you like. So what you're going to do, we've tied the new yarn on. You're just going to reach in and bring up the new yarn. We're going to chain 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That looks very long, but it's going to become another one of these corner loops. Same thing we did in the previous round. Okay, So in this same space, this corner loop space, we're going to work 2 double crochets right into the space. Again, I'm holding my tail in as I go along. So work 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. Okay, so that's going to get part of this first corner started. When we come around and complete our round, we'll be adding to this to create the full corner. But we're going to keep going. Okay, next, this project we're going to be switching back and forth from working into the spaces. We just worked into the space here and working into the stitches. When we work in the sides, we'll be working into the stitches. So this first double crochet stitch that we come to, we're going to work a double crochet in each one of these stitches across until we get to the next corner. Okay? So work a double crochet into that first stitch. Again, we're holding our tail in as we go along. Work a double crochet into the first stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. Just doing this all the way across our side here of our triangle. Double crochet into the next stitch. And then this last one is sometimes can be partially obstructed, but you're going to just work right into that stitch there. Okay, so let's look at what we have so far. We did our chain, we worked 2 into this corner space, then we worked a double crochet in each one of these double crochet stitches across. Okay, so we've arrived at another corner. So to work the corner, again, we're still holding our tails in. We're going to work 2 right into this space here, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, then we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then in the same space, 2 more double crochets. This is how our corners will be made from here on out. He's still holding those tails, and another double crochet. So our corners will be 2 double crochets, chain 5, 2 double crochets. Okay, we've arrived at another side. So to work the side, again, we're going to work a double crochet into each stitch across. At this point, your tails might be getting a little short, so you want to go and trim those if you need to. Okay, so I worked 1 into that first stitch. Work a double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. Your triangle will grow because you're adding extra stitches every time you work a side. As it gets larger and larger, each side will have extra stitches. Okay, double crochet in the next stitch. Double crochet in the next stitch. And that very last one, that last one can be a little fiddly sometimes because it's right up against that corner. Okay, so it's going to look kind of like that. We've arrived at our very last corner. So we're going to right into the space again. We're going to work 2 double crochets. 1, 2, chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in the same space, 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Okay, so it'll look kind of like that. Our triangle is really shaping up. Looks very, very pretty. Okay, so locate that very first stitch you come to, work a double crochet in that first stitch. Double crochet in the next stitch. double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the next stitch. Then in that last stitch right there, work a double crochet. As you work more rounds of this, it'll become more and more intuitive and less counting and things like that. You'll just look for the stitches and work them into the stitches. Next, to finish off and close off our round, remember when we did our beginning chain, this partially counts as a double crochet about halfway up when it meets, and also as our corner loop here. So what we're going to do is each corner, as we've done, has 2 double crochets and then that chain to make the corner. So we need to add 1 more double crochet into this space to finish off that corner. Remember when we began this round, I said we'll finish this corner when we come back around. Okay, so you just work 1 double crochet into the space to finish, and then 1, 2, 3 chains up, you're going to work a slip stitch to finish off the round. So everything blends nicely and it just looks like all of the other corners. So this is what we have so far. It looks very nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut our yarn. We're going to fasten off again, just like that. Now, at this point, I like to trim my tails as I go along, especially when I'm working on striped projects, because the ends can just get completely out of control. So go ahead and trim your ends at this point after you finish this round, and that'll keep things nice and neat and clean as you're working on the project. To continue with your wrap, you're just going to keep repeating round 2 over and over until the button wrap is 30 inches or as large or small as you'd like it to be. Again, I recommend trying it on as you go along to get the dimensions that you prefer. So we're going to keep repeating round 2. I'm going to do one more round with you just to show you how to continue with round 2. Again, we're just repeating the round we just did. So again, we're just going to tie our yarn right onto the corner. And it really helps to weave those ends in as you go along. So just tie that yarn right on. I'm doing the fisherman color next. Okay? So then we're going to reach in, bring up the new yarn. Then we're going to chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Again, just like we did before, we're only working half of this first corner, and then as we come around, we'll finish it up at the end when we join. Okay, so go ahead and work 2 double crochets into the space, this corner space. So 1 double crochet, and the second double crochet, and everything's straightened out. You can pull our little tail here. Then in this first stitch that you come to, you're going to work a double crochet into the stitch, double crochet in the next stitch. Each time you work one of these sides, every time you do a round, each one of these sides is going to grow larger and larger. Because, see, we're working the stitches into actually those corners. So each side is growing larger every time you make a round. Double crochet in the next stitch. 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 Coming up to that next corner, still holding those tails in. Double crochet in the next stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. And then the last stitch of this side, we'll work a double crochet into that one as well. Okay, we've arrived at the next corner. I'm going to go ahead and trim my tails as I go along here. It just keeps them out of the way, and I can actually see what I'm doing. Sometimes those tails really get in the way, so it's nice to trim them as you go along. Okay, so we've arrived at our first corner, our second corner, excuse me. So we're going to work 2 double crochets right into that space. 1 and 2. Chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 double crochets into the next, into the same space. And it'll look just like that. It's looking very pretty. These triangles are so pretty. Okay, so the first stitch you come to right here, work a double crochet into that first stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. Double crochet in the next stitch. Double crochet into the next stitch. Next stitch. Next stitch. Next stitch. All the way across till we get to another corner. Okay, let's get a little more yarn here. This yarn is a nice weight. It's very cozy, but it's not too bulky. Okay, we're almost at the end of our side here. And then that very last stitch, you might have to look for it a little bit because it kind of tends to blend with that corner chain there. But it's right next to the previous one. You might just have to look for it a little bit. Okay, our last corner of this round. And as you can see, we're just repeating round 2. It's just growing a little each time. Okay, 2 double crochets into this corner space. Then chain 5 to create that corner. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 double crochets into the same space. 1 and 2. Look for the first stitch. Work a double crochet in that first stitch to complete the last side of our triangle. So we'll work a double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet. Again, we're working into the stitches. Double crochet, double crochet, double crochet, double crochet. And that very last stitch, work a double crochet right into that stitch as well to finish it off. Okay, we still have to complete the last corner. So we're going to work a double crochet into the space to finish up that corner. Okay, and then 3 chains up. 1, 2, 3. Insert your hook into that 3rd chain up and work a slip stitch to complete the round. Okay, the next round we've completed. So I've shown you round 2 twice. We're just repeating this over and over and over again. So to proceed, you just want to do the next color of your stripe sequence, tie it onto a corner, and work round 2 again and again and again and again. Okay? So when you're finished, we're going to pretend this is as large as we'd like it to be. So what you're going to do when you're finished is take your tapestry needle and you're just going to weave in the end. If you wove your ends in as you went along, you should only have one little tail to weave in. So flip it to the back. And we're just going to weave our tail in one direction. weave our tail in the other direction. And just snip that off. You can save these for the birds in the springtime. And then just kind of straighten everything out a little bit. Our triangle is very pretty. And then you're going to take your button. Now, two things you want to do before you sew your button onto your project. You want to first make sure that you have an appropriately sized tapestry needle that will fit through the buttonholes of your button. The next thing you want to do, because these holes, these corner decorative holes are going to serve as our buttonholes, you want to make sure your button can pass through the hole. Okay, let's go back to our completely finished button wrap. I wanted to show you, I sewed my button, if you notice, it's a little bit off-centered here because we can't sew a button onto a hole. I kind of just made mine a little off-center. You could actually just tie it right onto this if you want to, but I just made mine a little off-center. So then when you go to wear your button wrap, you'll just fold the corners in, and then you'll just use one of these decorative holes as a buttonhole to close your wrap. If you prefer more of a shawl, you can just keep working more and more rounds. You don't necessarily need the button. Because this is smaller than a full-size shawl, I thought the button closure would help it stay on. And you can wear it so that the button is in the front. You can wear it so that the button is sort of off to the side. It's fun to experiment and kind of play around with it. So let's sew our button on really quick. You just want to take one of the pieces of yarn that you used for your project to make it match. And as you can see, I used the rust for this one, and it ties it all in together nicely because of the same matching color yarn. Okay, so go ahead and thread your tapestry needle. And then we're going to sew the button onto our project. So I threaded my tapestry needle with a matching piece of yarn. You don't need much. This is probably 8 inches or so. And let's look at our original piece here. Okay, I'm just going to place the button where I want it to go. And then you can come up from the back and then go back down in. You can do this a couple times. Because this is a functional button and not a decorative button, you want to make sure that you get it on there nice and securely and that it's going to stay put, okay? So then once you do that a few times, you can just tie it. Tie a few knots on there. I'm going to do 3. Then you can take your tapestry needle again and we're going to weave in those ends. I wanted to share a tip. When you weave in ends on a multicolored project, we have stripes, so we have lots of different colors going on. You want to weave your ends in to the same color, not a different color. So we don't want to weave this honey color into the fisherman color because you'd see this line going through our work. So we're going to weave it into the same color, and that goes for any tails that you weave in on any project. It'll blend so much nicer and not show through. Okay, so come in one direction, come in the other direction, then you can trim, and then just do the same for this other tail, and your button will be secure. This is more of a doll-sized button wrap. We can make this for one of the dolls, I guess. So it's just a miniature version, okay? So that is how you crochet the Renaissance button wrap. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the red subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. Thanks again.